Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder agenda briefing for the 13th of November ahead of our 20th of November Ordinary Council meeting. Council would like to show its respect and acknowledge all of the traditional custodians on the land in which we meet and show our respects to elders past and present. Just as we open the meeting this evening, as a reminder to anyone in the gallery that this is an agenda briefing session to enable councillors to ask any questions or seek additional information in relation to the agenda items so that they can debate and make a decision next week at our ordinary council meeting. Just a reminder, councillors, there is to be no debate on any items. It is questions only and no statements. As there is nobody bar staff in our public gallery this evening, I will dismiss the disclaimer. However, the recommendations contained in the agenda are officers' recommendations only and should not be acted upon until council has resolved to adopt those recommendations. The resolutions of council should be confirmed by perusing the minutes of the council meeting at which these recommendations were considered. And members of the public should also note that they act in their own risk if they enact any resolution prior to receiving official written notification of council's decision. This evening we have an apology from Councillor Johnson, and Councillor Winner joins us via phone. In doing so, because we're not having any voting in this evening's meeting, there is no vote required to accept Councillor Winner into the meeting, so therefore he's joining us this evening. No further leave. Notations of interest. Councillors, not a decision-making forum this evening, but it's considered best practice to disclose any interests in items being discussed tonight. Would therefore call for any notations of interest on items on the agenda briefing for tonight. Councillors, any notations of interest? There are none. Thank you. The agenda items, the relevant executive officer will provide a brief overview of the item and then open it up to questions on that particular item. And where possible, officers will provide a response tonight. However, any questions that have to be taken on notice will be responded to in writing to all elected members prior to the ordinary council meeting next week. We start off with item 15.1.1 this evening, reports of officers from the Chief Executive. Mr CEO, item 15.1.1 is the monthly financial report, September 2023. Executive Manager for Finance, Sandra, being delegated that particular role this evening. Executive Manager, is there anything to add to 15.1.1?
Hello, councillors. No, there's nothing more to add than what's already in the report. So it's just the September monthly report showing the variances more than 50,000.
Councillors, any questions of the Executive Manager Finance? None, thank you. Item 15.1.2, Accounts Payable Report, also the Executive Manager of Finance. Executive Manager, any further updates?
No, so again, this is just the standard monthly report showing the expenditure for the month of October, which totaled 9.5 million.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions? None taken. Item 15.1.3, Corporate Performance Reporting, Executive Manager of Governance and Risk, Mr CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, you recall at the last meeting, the issue was talked about in relation to reporting progress against Council's actions and strategies. This is the first of the quarterly reports against the corporate business plan with all actions outlined in there. It is the first sort of review of this process, and the attached report has all the status reported for this quarter. The format will change slightly over the next couple of reports just to provide additional information or more clarity, but happy to take any questions.
Councillors, any questions on 15.1.3? None taken. Item 15.1.4, Governance Framework Review, Executive Manager of Governance and Finance and Risk, which is normally Francis, who, Mr CEO, you are standing for this evening.
Yeah, thank you again, Mr Mayor. The Governance Framework Review has been undertaken following the local government elections, just to bring the governance framework in line with the new council and updates in relation to anything that has changed through legislation. So it really is just minor administrative updates all the way through the document, but it's presented to council as the original document was adopted by the city.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Councillors, any questions? None taken. Item 15.2.1, Director of Development and Growth, Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. This report just provides an overview of ongoing activities by the city in relation to early childcare education and support. So the city has undertaken a survey to help stakeholders and the city understand what the current status and demands are within the community for early childhood support, and what some of the issues are that are being faced by parents either seeking early childhood education or childcare. So council's asked to just receive the report, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Councillors, I will declare an impartiality to item 15.2.1 and 15.2.2, having a child in childcare at the moment. So please take that on notice for next week, Mr. CEO. Thank you. And councillors, I've just filled out my paperwork for that. Any questions on the first item from the Director of Development and Growth? Councillor Turner. Yeah, grab your microphone, please, councillor.
Okay, just through the Mayor. Mr. Weiss, there's a new childcare centre that's about to, well, it's under construction at the moment. Do we have an ETA on when that could be finished, and how much do you think that will alleviate some of these issues?
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Through the Mayor, that childcare centre is expected to open in Q1 next year. There's approximately 120 new places that we made available, so we think that will, significantly increase, opportunities and provide kind of a new location. There's also a second childcare centre that is planned not that far away from the other centre, and we're hoping that that will be open and available for use probably Q3, Q4 next year.
Any further follow-up questions, Councillor Turner? No. Thank you. Any further questions, councillors, on 15.2.1? Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanting to know how are we going to deal with the staffing of these second childcare centre?
Thank you, Councillor Viskovich, and through the Mayor. So that is in part covered off through the second report, or the next report in the agenda, in which council's been working with stakeholders to better understand, I guess, the training and staffing needs, and to secure funding to support the training of early childcare providers and educators. I'll speak more on that report when we get to it.
Thank you. No further questions, councillors, on 15.2.1? 15.2.2, the CKB Childcare Educator Student Scholarship Scheme, with some background. The Director, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city partnered with the state government and with support of the GC was successful in receiving funding to deliver a early childhood education training support program. During the term that program was running, the state government and federal government also announced a number of free TAFE courses, which included those areas. So we worked with the state to reapply and readjust that funding. We're happy to announce to the community and to council today that we've provided funding to successfully support 15 people go through and complete their training to become early educators and childcare workers. The intent is, even though the program was quite intensive from the city point of view, we're delighted with the outcome it's delivered for the sector and for Kalgoorlie-Boulder, and the intent is to continue to work with the state to look for other opportunities for funding in areas where we're, I guess, finding it difficult to attract essential workers.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, any questions on item 15.2.2? Councillor Bodicar.
Sorry, Mr. Weiss. With the trainers, is the money, the relationship that the government and council have together, is that going to be going towards assisting trainers to train the early childcare workers? And how will that be promoted? Will it be promoted through the schools offering, year 11 and year 12 children those options, or to become childhood workers?
So the training was offered through Central Regional TAFE as a course. So we partnered with TAFE. The funding support was directly to students and applicants wishing to do the training to reduce course fee costs or fully cover course fee costs. And also with the amendment, we were successful in achieving cover other kind of incidentals associated with completing the training requirements. The intent would be, I guess, to look at mirroring that and have a kind of a broader remit to make sure that we can get the funding out the door and the, outcomes in terms of completed enrolments. In terms of how we'll promote that, we'll work collaboratively with the stakeholder group that's been referenced in the report to try and determine the best ways to reach the audience, but that will definitely include working with the established childcare centres and making sure that they're aware that all their staff would be available to apply for upskilling, but if they also have unqualified staff, that we would be delighted to support them moving through the program as well.
Because I know that TAFE themselves too are understaffed with some of their lecturers and trainers. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just two questions. Are the courses actually in Kalgoorlie? Do the people get to do them here? And if so, how long are those courses do they take to complete?
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell, and through the Mayor. Look, I don't know the exact time frame taken to complete the courses. I think it varies depending on the exact subject matter and course that the individual applicant is studying. But yes, they were all local courses, and so all the people doing those courses did the study locally at Central Regional TAFE in Kalgoorlie.
Follow-up question, Councillor O'Donnell.
Supplementary.
Don't need to stand if you don't need to. You don't need to stand if you don't want to.
Thank you.
But you can if you like.
Yeah, a bit of exercise. The through my train of thought. I'm not a child educator and I'm not aware. But if there's different levels, once they become a child educator, are we going to assist as well to, if anyone wants to aspire to go to the next level of child educator, will the city possibly be looking at that, or have they already thought about that?
We encourage anyone interested to submit an application, and that will just be assessed against the funding criteria, which in part will be, I guess, determined by the city and other stakeholders that provide the funding. So for this kind of most recent round that we ran, it was very much focused as, I guess, helping people meet the minimum requirements to be an educator or a childcare provider. But what we're wanting to help understand through both the survey and working with the stakeholder group is where the need is and with the industry, and then focus on delivering outcomes based on Kalgoorlie's need.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions, councillors? Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just, do we have an amount of staff that we will need for each of the facilities?
We don't have the exact numbers in terms of staff shortages. That'll be a piece of work that we'll be pulling together to support the next round of grant applications. So I'll be communicating and inviting education providers and childcare providers to attend or provide that information directly to the city, so we can get a bit of an understanding of exactly what the need is. When we last did the survey back in 2017, there was about a kind of a 30 to 50% vacancy rate in terms of staffing numbers that was impacting their ability to, I guess, operate with full staff numbers.
Follow-up question, Councillor Viskovich.
Sorry, I don't think I made myself very clear. Do we know how many staff we need in the facility to run it? What's the minimum we could take on? Yeah, just to run it. Obviously, you'll have an accounts person, you'll have leadership people, and then staff.
For individual centres, no, we have to take that on notice. The actual educators or carers ratio varies depending on the age group that is being, I guess, looked after, but we could certainly provide that information to council when the report is considered next week.
All good, thank you. Councillor Bodicar. Microphone, please, Councillor.
So, Mr. Weiss, I would assume that the training would be AQTF, which is Australian Quality Trainwork Framing. And so, would you have some people that would be able to be given the flexibility to, if they've already worked in childcare for a while but didn't have a qualification, to get like recognition of prior learning, so that they can then go ahead and be upskilled but don't have to go through the whole course? Have we got that sort of funding as well? Because you'd have a fair few people that would have a history of working in the childcare centres but may not have had the time to be able to go and do that training, but already have, met some of the criteria.
Originally, the funding provided the city had quite strict criteria, but with the announcements by the state and federal government to provide free training courses, we were successful in opening how we're able to kind of, I guess, provide the funding quite broadly, which achieved a really good outcome. We're hoping to be able to replicate that in future rounds, but to some extent that will involve a conversation with the state government in particular, who we're hoping will partner again with the city to provide funding opportunities to support this incredibly valuable sector.
I think it's fantastic, but just sort of like hooking into what Councillor O'Donnell was saying, those people, once they've actually done their Certificate 3, Certificate 4, diplomas and that, they can then sort of, really choose whatever they want to study, can't they?
Councillor, is there
So
a
this
question?
is going to be encompassing.
There a
That's what it
question?
said, it's encompassing. Yeah, it's not a statement, it's just I'm asking, is that what it's aimed at?
Wasn't aimed at that, but if we had the capacity and ability to fund that type of opportunity, then the city would certainly support it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Turner.
Just through the mayor, just to be clear, Mr. West, these are both private centres anyway, aren't they? So primarily, whilst we can assist with grants for training and potential staff, the staffing will be up to those centres, and they will potentially already have staff lined up through their other resources through WA.
Through the mayor, Councillor Turner, yes, that's correct. There's a variety of structures, so some are for profit, some are not for profit. So there's a variety of different structures operating, and the funding's open to all of them.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? Thank you, Director. Item 15.3.1, Oasis Club Rooms Operations, Director of Community Development.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council is asked to consider a funding allocation to the Oasis Club Rooms for its repairs and for it to be reopened as a multi-use community facility. Council is, though, to note that since the completion of this report, there was an attempted break-in at the facility, which was attended to by security contractors and the WA Police. The perpetrator was not apprehended. However, city officers still uphold that with the council revocation of the Oasis alcohol policy that occurred on the 28th of August OCM, the motivation for future break-ins is significantly reduced. Council is asked to note a budget amendment of $60,000 for the repair of the facility with minor improvements to security at the mid-year budget review.
Thank you, Director. Any questions, councillors? Sure. Thank you, Councillor Winner via phone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through the chair to the director. Fantastic, and thank you very much for bringing this report back to the table. My question is, if this motion is successful, what is the expected commencement and completion time for the works on the club room?
Director.
Thank you, Councillor Winner, through the mayor. Just due to contractor availability, the works may not commence until sort of the late Q1 2024. Yeah, that's.
Sure. Councillor Winner, all good with that? Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Director Hicks. In the latter part of the report, it also mentions that we'll workshop policies and leasing moving forward. Is there the opportunity for us to bring the clubs along for that journey in ensuring that we're addressing their needs as well during that process?
Through the mayor, thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. That's a great suggestion and one that I will have the ELT consider as part of the review that we're workshopping with council.
Thank you. Councillor Turner.
Just through the mayor, just a question. With those works that, just to follow up from what councillor Winner asked, has a contractor been engaged or has it been put out to tender? So we can have a bit more certainty there.
Director.
Through the mayor. Thank you, councillor Turner. Before we can engage the contractor, we need council to note the additional funding required for the work and endorse that the work and repairs will be undertaken.
Councillor Turner, follow up.
So just a supplementary question from that. So once that's happened, is that's you will either advertise it for tender or you'll seek through your internal sources?
Through the mayor, thank you. Yes, through the Directorate of Engineering, that would occur.
Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With the comments made that alcohol was a huge factor in these burglaries, that once it's all completed, will the city consider incorporating in the lease arrangements that no alcohol is to be kept on the premises at all by the leaseholders?
Thank you, Councillor. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Essentially, through the revocation of the Oasis alcohol policy, we cannot include alcohol into the leases anymore. However, it could be considered by the CEO if he would grant a one-off alcohol license on the request of a booking user.
Councillor O'Donnell, follow up.
But, sorry, through the mayor, alcohol wouldn't be stored at the facility in that type of arrangement. People would bring it in for that evening and then remove it after the event had concluded. Thank you.
Thank you,
Supplementary,
Director.
Mr. Mayor. Would they consider making the Oasis club rooms, the ones that we're talking about, just an alcohol-free zone? Could that be considered? Or is that stretching? I know people expect to be able to drink alcohol, but really, why can't we make a stand and just say it's caused so much angst and cost?
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Sorry, Councillor O'Donnell. So essentially, it would just be that the CEO would not approve a request for an alcohol license at that facility any further into the future.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillors, any further questions? Item 15.3.1. Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have a itemised list for the budget for the $60,000?
So thank you, Councillor Viskovich. We have based that amount on a preliminary quote that we've received for the works to be undertaken. So that's an itemized list of the works that we've sort of selected to rectify.
Just before the councillor has a right there, I'll just give the CEO the opportunity to chime in. Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The quote for the works, there was a report provided to council last year from memory. The actual cost is 90,000 and the 60,000 is the additional cost. So we have 30,000 in the current budget, which we're reallocating to it, but we'll still need another 60,000 on top of that. We can provide the list of high-level scope of works that is required.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillor Viskovich, any further questions? No, thank you. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Director. Item 15.3.2, Community Perception Survey Results and Actions. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council is asked to consider the 2023 Community Perception Survey results and actions for responding to the key priority areas identified in the feedback from the community. I ask Council to note that City officers have developed an action plan, Stage 1, to address the top 6 community priorities. In the interest of best practice community engagement, it is also recommended that the results of the survey be published on the website and that the Council approve for a survey to be undertaken every 2 years.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Turner.
Through the mayor, just, I see that it was 1,300 responses. How did we send this survey out, and was it done through, I see that we had here, surveys were sent to all household PO boxes using Australia Post. Do we have an actual city database that we can also perhaps email these surveys out in future, and perhaps, I think there was a discussion between councillors last week, text that the link? Is there a few other ways we can look at in the modern world of getting it, trying to get it out to as many people as possible?
Director Hicks.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. There are privacy acts that we need to adhere to in terms of reaching out to our community members via email, but the development of this database is something that the marketing and communications team is working to develop for the next round of community perception surveys.
Follow-up question, Councillor Turner?
Yep, so just a supplementary, I see that email was sent out to those who had consented with which is obviously to do with that privacy, those privacy laws. Is there a way that we can further promote, that we can enhance this database, because we can't just automatically send it out? Because it was a question that a resident actually asked me on the weekend as well. Why doesn't the city have a more comprehensive database for emails and text? Because that's how a lot of people do things, even older people these days.
Director Hicks.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. So yes, we have a variety of databases. Rangers have a database, the Oasis has a database, the Art Centre has a database. So it's a matter of restructuring those databases to create that one sort of source of truth and be able to engage with our community in that manner.
Director, just a follow-up question to that. Would it be safe to say that the database that has occurred from each particular business unit cannot be used cross-business unit? Is that something that we need to be aware of as well? Even though the city are the owners of the data, however, if somebody has opted in via the Oasis, they cannot be commented or they cannot be contacted for a library matter. Is that fair to say, Mr. CEO?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The issue comes down to the privacy legislation. You can only use the email for the purpose for which it was obtained. So if that was around a membership for Oasis, that's all we can use it for. We can't opt across other areas unless we specifically ask them to opt in at the time of collecting their information. There's currently a review being undertaken of privacy legislation across Australia, and that may affect that, so we'll keep an eye on that space.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any further questions, councillors? Councillor Brownlee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to the director, can you please tell me what the key 4 actions are, just the 4 key actions are under the Community Perception Survey Action Plan? I just don't have attachment 2 in front of me, that's all.
No worries. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Brownlee. So yes, there's the top 6 community priorities, which is community safety and crime prevention, local roads, housing, family and children's services and facilities, health and community services, and lighting of streets and public spaces.
Thank you, Director. Any further questions, councillors? Thank you, Director, Community Development. Item 15.4.1, Acting Director of Engineering, Johan, thank you very much. Kalgoorlie-Boulder Youth Precinct Project Update.
Thank you, councillors. Through the mayor. So this item is about the Kalgoorlie-Boulder Youth Precinct, and to date, this project was planned to be done and completed through 2 phases. Phase 1 to start in October, and the second phase would have started in February to December of next year. Now, due to several constraints and things that happened on the project with regards to the design work, this has been delayed, and the construction has not started yet. So we are proposing now to do it all in one phase and start construction in February next year, and still complete the construction in December of next year. By doing this, by doing it all in one phase, we reduce the overheads so of expenses for insurance, supervision, and plant and equipment hire. The city will also then still meet the funding partner expectation and commitments and requirements. So there's an improved work program and opportunities, and also we will also be consolidating tender processes in the space. The disadvantage of combining the two phases is that we may have some of the antisocial behavior pushed out into other areas of the city, but to mitigate these antisocial behaviors, we are looking at activating alternative areas around the city for the youth, including skateboard pop-ups and other events. Also engage with other stakeholders to co-promote youth activities, and also increase safer street patrols in the CBD area, and also increased monitoring and maintenance of the city presentation. With this, we are looking at completing the project, all the planned activities within the precinct from approximately this February next year up until December of 2024, and during that time having the whole park closed.
Thank you, Acting Director of Engineering. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Turner.
You just through the mayor, how will we advertise that that will be closed and engage in the community so that they're well aware? And also will some of those things be like perhaps putting signage up there from very soon to have those dates, and trying to get as much community engagement as possible so that the community is fully aware, so that they know what's happening and feel involved in the process?
Acting Director.
We will engage with our communications department within the city, and we will use social media. We will use also printed media, and we will also put out notices at the park itself to inform the public.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillor Brownlee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question around the 9 months period of closure of the park. Is there any? Can we look at other opportunities where we could possibly, instead of activating just a temporary space for youth, is there opportunity for the council to look at what permanent space we could create in that time, during that 9-month period, given that it is going to close a service facility for the youth of our town over that 9-month period, but also given the fact that with regard to community priorities, we actually our low performance in children's services and facilities, can we possibly look at an opportunity for us to activate a permanent option for our young people in this place, in our city?
Acting Director, Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the councillor. I think there's an opportunity for us to explore some different activities and stuff during that period. So whilst we'll do some pop-up events, we may find some that are more popular that we could use in the future. So whilst we can't design anything permanently during that period because we don't have the budget for it, we'll certainly look at different types of activities, and that if we find them successful, then we'll look for a location and go for a more permanent type arrangement. But it really is a good opportunity to test out some new things that we haven't got currently in the city, and if they're like, then we can look at building upon that.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Just to the Director of Engineering, is there also the opportunity for us to stagger the opening if there's areas that are completed earlier than the December timeline, that they could be opened sooner?
Through the Mayor, Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for that question. Yes, we will pursue those opportunities and see where any of these are feasible to be able to stage an opening towards the end of the period as we complete some of the areas within the park. But I must emphasize that it will all be about safety and making sure that we can open areas safely whilst we're still busy with construction within the park.
Thank you. I have one question first. Councillor Viskovich.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering if we could possibly ask the community on maybe some of their ideas on what we could do for an alternative while the space is closed. If we can get some ideas from the community, they can give us ideas on what we can put forward.
Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the councillor, yeah, certainly we can look at that. I think there was a fair bit of consultation undertaken as part of the design concepts for that precinct to start with. We'll revisit that as the first point of call and just see what could be transferred from that to a pop-up type arrangement. And after that, we can then go back to the community again and search for other opportunities.
Councillor Brownlee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just another quick question with regard to the detailed designs. There was a delay. There was delay with the completion of drawings for CCTV, electrical works and civil design. Have we received those detailed designs yet?
Acting Director.
Through the Mayor, we are waiting the final designs any day now to come through, and those will then be transformed into tender documentation that will go out to public.
My question for you, Acting Director, is how confident you are of December 2024?
Well, through the Mayor, that's the date we currently have on the books, and that's what we're working towards, and that all indications is that's where we will be when we get to December 2024.
Thank you, Acting Director. Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Turner and Councillor Bodica. Councillor Turner.
Just on that, we've been confident on those dates. Do we have anyone to do the works? We do, and we've already awarded that, and they're ready and waiting to go.
Acting Director.
I'm not aware that we have any tenders out there as yet. We still need to award the tenders to contractors.
Councillor Bodica.
Through the Mayor to Arno. Have you already started engaging the key stakeholders to promote youth activities and things already? Have we already started that process? And have they given any ideas about some of the alternatives that you could be, sort of implementing within the next 9 months or of having this proposal done?
Through the Mayor, we have had some internal discussions, interdepartmental discussions with regards to possible options and areas where we could have some of these pop-ups. We haven't engaged with specific stakeholders in the private sector as yet.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any further questions, councillors? None taken. Thank you. Based on the information provided tonight, if there are any proposed amendments or alternate motions proposed for next week, can you please provide those to the Chief Executive Officer prior to the meeting? It will help make the ordinary meeting more efficient. Thank you to councillors and staff this evening as well for answering those questions. Councillors, please note that we have a presentation in relation to the Community Safety and Crime Prevention Plan and a further induction presentation in just a few minutes. Thank you very much, and I now close the agenda briefing. Thank you.